first round pick.
Fuck this,
Yeah,
Lou.
hey, throw that list away, all right?
Why are we?
Yo, welcome to the show. It's a Chiefs Blitz night. Breaking down the plays, keeping everything tight. From Mahomes to the defense, we give you the scoop. Real talk, real stats, we the ultimate troop. This ain't no game, it's our passion on display.
The baby
Chiefs
himself.
Blitz podcast, real fans unite. Every touchdown scored, we ignite the night. From tailgate chatter to post-game debate, we love our Chiefs, yes, never too late.
I would even bring MVS back in the middle of the season.
Are you ready for the best Kansas City Chiefs insight? Welcome to the Four Guys in a Bar, sponsored by ChiefsBlitz.com, presented by UnderdogFantasy.com. Here's your Chiefs Blitz host, Nick Athan, with Lou Montagna, Andre Tillman, and Hense Todd.
Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Sorry about the late today. Had technical difficulties before the show. Go ahead, Nick.
All good. All right, welcome to the show. This is Four Guys in a Bar, presented by ChiefsBlitz.com, your number one source for Chiefs news and information. I'm your host, Nick Athan, with Hense Todd, Mr. Lou Montagna, Coach Andre Tillman, on a Friday, and what is going to be a very lively topic. Today, we will present the facts as we know them about where the Chiefs and the Royals may end up with their new state-of-the-art stadiums. But before we get into all that, let's talk about our sponsor, Underdog.
Baseball is back.
That's right. Baseball is back on Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you cash in today. You can play the pick'em game. It's very similar to what you did with the NFL where you're doing the Chiefs stuff. Now it's all about baseball, and especially the Royals. You can go higher or lower. It's really simple to use. Their app is amazing. You just choose your entry fee. You decide what you want to play, and you just see the winnings coming if you know what you're doing. So take a swing today and make sure that you sign up for Underdog Fantasy, and they're going to give you a meatball right off the gamut, Bobby Wood Jr. special. So start with a W for your first entry and new customers. Make sure you use the code Chiefs Blitz.
All right, use the code Chiefs Blitz. Hey, if you're a Royals fan, they're not hitting. There's some really great opportunity out there right now to make some extra cash by playing the Underdog Fantasy. We make it really simple here. Just hit the QR code, type in the code Chiefs Blitz, deposit $5. Play that $5, you get 50 in bonus dollars, and you're on your way. Remember, you can go high, you can go low. It works both ways. So it's a great game. We appreciate them as sponsor. WNBA is hot. Major League Baseball is hot. We'll be talking about NFL preseason games in what, about 6, 8 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that. I don't even know what it is. But we're excited about all that. But definitely check out our sponsors at Underdog.
Got to play to win. Don't forget, man. Got to play to win.
Got to shoot your shot. That's the only way to advance and to win in the world.
And if you do jump in, I think for new users, Nick also will contribute to the cause, and you'll get a signed card of some kind, whether it be Royals or Chiefs. So
it's got a Roberto Clemente card.
Every opportunity to get something free right here.
Can't hurt. And
don't
again,
the promo code Chiefs Blitz.
That's right. And for our fans too, all the Blitzers, I've got a couple of emails, but I'm happy to send you one of my cards or two for your favorite Chiefs, Royals, or Jayhawks players if I've got them, just as an appreciation. So email me at chiefsblitzcasey@gmail.com.
So with that said, let's get right into fact or cat. What you have for us today?
Everything just seems a little off. Okay, we need something to get rolling here. Before we get into fact or cat, real quick, I'm going to be shouting out Erie, PA one more time. Tonight is the NHL draft. There's a very good probability that another Erie Otter will be the number one pick overall in the NHL draft. Defenseman Mark Schaefer. So we Connor McDavid years ago. Obviously, we all know who he is, and Mark Schaefer is just the next one. So shout out Erie Otters, OHL, Ontario Hockey League. Let's go. All right. So This is for the second greatest game. I got to get my glasses, man. Second greatest game on YouTube. Fact or cap. I will read a series of statements, and you guys can decide, well, hey, is that a fact or is it cap? I feel that way. All right, so there's not a ton of news happening in the NFL at this point, but there has been something that was, I guess, uncovered, that there was a grievance filed at a certain point. I don't know if it was by the NFLPA, by the players or whatever, but anyway, there was a decision rendered and it was given in January, but it was like under the radar, nothing to see here. And upon further review, it is kind of a big deal because it had to do with the whole thing with Deshaun Watson and fully guaranteed contracts, and the names like Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, all the quarterbacks that were up for contracts at that time that did not get fully guaranteed contracts. And through some digging, evidently Pablo Torre, late of ESPN, now he's with Meadowlark Productions, that's Dan Le Batard's outfit. But anyway, on his podcast, Pablo Torre finds out he got this document, and it is fascinating and almost incriminating the length that these owners go to communicate amongst themselves and to keep guaranteed salaries down. Well, I would highly recommend going and watching this podcast. I get it, it's not us. I don't like directing people away from us, but this was really, really interesting if you're into like the machinations of the NFL and how it works. So the statement is this: as consumers, patrons, supporters of the NFL, we have the right to know how the teams operate. Fact or cap? Hensley.
Well, I'll just say, as fans, you're gonna want to know what your team is up to or what everything is going on. So I'll just say, because you invest a lot, tax money and everything else. So I would say fact. I want to know what's going on. I want to be the guy to actually know what's going on.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you, my friend. I'm going to definitely say cap. Listen, the NFL is a business first and foremost. And as we're about to find out in Kansas City, the true business of the Chiefs and the Royals and the stadium's nonsense that's going on, at the end of the day, it is not our privy to know everything that goes on. Collusion is nothing new. It's happened in all sports, including a couple of lawsuits in the NFL. And it's happened before. It likely will happen in some form again. But it's definitely a cap for me.
I'm going to say cap as well. Ain't none of my damn business. I don't want to know what's going on behind the scene. That's personal. That's on them. All I want to see is the production on the field. So I'm going to have to go with cap.
Right. So, yeah, from a fan's perspective, I can see what you're saying, Coach. But in terms of the human beings that actually play the game and who are the employees and so forth, the fact that the owners are colluding against them. I mean, where's the NFLPA in all this? I mean, this document, if you going through it the way he did it and just reading, and this is testimony from like 8 different owners, basically calling fouls on themselves, and somehow the court-appointed or NFL-appointed arbiter ruled that they didn't collude, but every point of evidence points to it. So, there is antitrust rules, there's everything else. They have a union, so it's up to the union here and agents really to hold them accountable. It just, to me, was really fascinating to read about it.
Right.
Maybe it's only interesting to me, but I like, kind of understanding kind of how the teams are run, how they build the teams and everything like that. So anyway, I highly recommend taking a look at that. All right, so let's go on the field. Well, not really on the field, but about some players, one specific player that got drafted by the Chiefs. So Jason Kelce on the New Heights podcast was quoted as saying about Josh Simmons, he is the closest thing I've seen to a Trent Williams type player, next level strength and athleticism. Furthermore, in another quote, Joe Thomas says that Josh Simmons is a grizzly bear with ballet feet. So the statement is this: take Jason's quote, Joe's quote, put them together, whatever. These quotes put maybe a little undue pressure on Josh Simmons, who really hasn't even had an opportunity to put pads on yet. Fact or cap?
I would say, hey, when you have the talent, the pressure is going to be there. I'll even add more pressure. I said, like I said on Ben Dre show, and Dre said he didn't agree. I said, I think the kid is the next Willie Roaf. So, hey, more pressure to add on to that. So I'd say fact.
All right.
Now, not too much pressure.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, it's definitely cap because I think the kid's already motivated. Travis Kelce gushed at him. Trey Smith gushed about him too on their New Heights podcast on Wednesday. And I don't think this is adding any pressure. I think this kid has already put all the pressure on himself. He's trying to come back from a very serious knee injury in a very short period of time. I don't think he's got any added pressure from what people around him say, because I think he's just that confident of a person. So, cap for me.
I could go either way. I'm going to say fact, because what happens is people that don't know Josh Simmons, they don't know who this guy is. They be like, oh, man, he might be him. So when I look at the picture of this guy, like, God dang it, that giggity dog, this guy must be huge. He's phenomenal. Everybody, all the OGs are telling everybody he is this type of player. But on the other side of things, it's like, let that man get his feet wet first. Let him get going, because I hate for the kingdom to be disappointed. So I'm going to go with fact. I'm going to go with fact. They're putting a little too much pressure on them. They're putting too much sugar on them right now. I'm going to go with fact.
Yeah, I guess you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But, you've got two of the arguably greatest offensive linemen, or certainly in the conversation at their respective positions, heaping praise on this kid, which, is great. It's just hard, again, as a fan, it's like all of a sudden, the expectations are, hey, the next Trent Williams, or, just somebody that we hence talking about Willie Roaf. I mean, let's, give the kid a chance to play, because there's really nowhere to go for him but down. It's not like, oh man, he can elevate himself. No, we're already saying that he's like the greatest. So it's a tough one for me, but I would say cap, just because of the fact that, hey, you're in the NFL now. There's plenty of pressure to go around, but it's just interesting that those guys came out with this. Okay, so all this movement, we're going to be talking about movement today with the Chiefs and what's going to be happening there. The Bills are building a new stadium, open air. Way to go, Bills! Some of the worst weather in the NFL, but they're going open air. The Bengals just re-signed a lease to stay at Paycor for 10 years. The Browns just got relief from the Modell rule to move the team to Brook Park in the suburbs, and they want to build a dome stadium. The Modell rule, for those of you that maybe aren't quite that old, Art Modell at some point moved the Browns back in '98 or whatever to Baltimore. So they put in this law in Ohio that if that were the case, that owner was thinking about moving the team, they would have to give an opportunity to a local group or owner to buy the team, so they wouldn't move it. So the Ohio legislature is giving them carte blanche to go ahead and move it. So I don't know that they said it has to be, how close it has to be to Cleveland. Who knows? Maybe right. Columbus gets an NFL team at some point. But the Bears also looking to move to Arlington Park, new domed stadium. What's happening here? So the statement is this: the doming of the NFL is bad for the game. Fact or cap?
I'll say fact. Football is meant to be played in the toughest weather of all, right? That's why it's the toughest game of all, because we got the toughest players of all. You only can diminish your toughness if you're playing in the snow, the rain, the lightning. It doesn't matter. You want to get out there and clash.
You draw the line.
You want to go there, out there and clash helmets and pads. It doesn't matter. So if you got a dome on, you might as well be an ice skater. You might as well be a ballet person. You might as well be another athlete out there. You might as well be a basketball player, but not a football player. So I would say the stadium with the open roofs. That's why the Bills are building a stadium with open roofs. They don't want they want the toughness. We want the snow. We want to throw snowballs at your players on the sideline. So open stadium, I think is a more great to go. So I would say fact, Lou.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to go Cap, and the only reason they didn't put a dome stadium in Buffalo because they couldn't get enough money to do it. And trust me, if they had the money, they would do it. Listen, with the technology today and the retractable roofs or a rolling roof or some sort of structure in a cold weather environment, you can still create the ambiance of a full air stadium. And when it's minus 20 degrees outside, I'm sorry, I would prefer that there's some sort of cover. And in Kansas City, we've had a couple of games in the minus 20 range, and it's cold. It's really cold. So to me, I'm going against my buddy Hense there. Sorry, pal. Cap.
I'm going to say big Cap, because you just said something very important, though, Nick. People was losing limbs at Chiefs Stadium. They was losing their fingers and getting frostbite. Who the hell want to get frostbite, sir? I don't get no damn frostbite. I want to bring my kids and enjoy the playoffs. I want to bring my kids and my family to enjoy the playoffs. I ain't trying to get frostbite pneumonia. I ain't trying to get no goddamn pneumonia. Trying to watch the damn game. I want to watch the game in a great scenery. We can eat and enjoy ourselves, right? So I'm going to go Cap.
You're not that tough of a guy. Huh? You got to be a tough guy.
I'm built like a universal soldier, sir.
If you're a tough, if you agree to say open dome,
to be rare occasions as the years go by in terms of just how nasty the weather gets. There's not. I mean, there's maybe a handful of games a year.
Yeah, that's true.
Bad. It just. I don't know. Call me nostalgic or whatever, but it just seems like it's a much better game when it's played outdoors.
See, I knew you was a tough guy, Lou. See, that's why I like him.
Ready to lose the limb.
And I guess the other part of it is, and we'll be talking about this in a minute, I'm sure, is just the older stadiums and just kind of some nostalgia for those. So I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say fact. The doming, it's like there was an article years ago about the mauling of America, MALLING.
Yeah.
And we see kind of the way, the malls have gone the way of the dinosaur, and maybe that's because of technology and just online shopping and everything else. But in terms of football, you also get the sense that the game is cyclical. It got a little bit more finesse, and as time has gone by over the last 5 years or so, teams are reverting back to a little bit more toughness, a little bit more running the football. And so I think just in that vein, you got to stay outside, man. You don't want to squeeze this thing too hard because at a certain point, not everybody is going to get a Super Bowl. You're not going to have a Super Bowl in Cleveland. You're not going to get maybe Chicago. We'll see. Kansas or Kansas City, they're really going to have a Super Bowl. Come on. I mean, it's a pipe dream. Now, unless you get some sort of promise, but if you're looking to host something, I think you're probably better off in a more of a destination type city. So anyway, that's it. That is it for Fact or Cap this week. Thanks for playing, guys. The second greatest game on YouTube. Fortunately, we have the best game on YouTube on Wednesdays in Chifu. I don't know how that works, but we got it done. As always, we are brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy Sports. Scan the QR code. Go ahead and use the promo code Chiefs Blitz.
So what they say, let's
start winning today.
There it is. Let's do it.
Baseball is back.
That's right. Baseball is back on Underdog Fantasy. Make sure you cash in today. You can play the Pick'em game. It's very similar to what you did with the NFL. We're doing the Chiefs stuff. Now it's all about baseball, and especially the Royals. You can go higher or lower. It's really simple to use. Their app is amazing. You just choose your entry fee. You decide what you want to play, and you just see the winnings coming if you know what you're doing. So take a swing today and make sure that you sign up for Underdog Fantasy, and they're going to give you a meatball right off the gamut, Bobby Witt Jr. special. So start with a W for your first entry and new customers. Make sure you use the code Chiefs Blitz.
That's right. Use the code Chiefs Blitz. Hit the QR code, as Lou said. Put in the promo code Chiefs Blitz, and you're on your way. Again, the game is high-low. You can pick an individual player to have hits, home runs, RBIs for baseball. In WNBA, you can do points, rebounds. You can play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10 individual players across multi-sports, and you can have a great time. All you got to do to get started is hit the QR code, put in the code Chiefs Blitz, play $5, deposit that $5, get 50 in bonus dollars, and you're on your way. You're having a great time.
Got to play to win.
Got to play to win.
So
it's just that Missouri and Kansas is in a fight with each other. So, we got to play. One of them two got to play to win. So go ahead and let's get into the statement of the day or the quote of the day of the show.
Lou, read us.
So again, this may or may not be authored by one Hense Todd. In Arrowhead's embrace, where legends reside, Lamar Hunt's vision with Chiefs as its pride. This is poetic. My goodness,
it's great.
Kingdom of passion, where hearts beat as one. Save this sacred ground where victories are won. Yes, that was definitely a Hense Todd production.
Damn, I feel like I was reading an audio book.
Well done, man. Now, next time, let's do it again, but put a beat behind it, and let me read it again.
Man,
I can't do beatbox. So.
I'm just kidding.
But if you see Lamar Hunt standing there just waiting for his stadium to stay in put place.
That's a great photo.
Go ahead, Lou. Go ahead and read the question of the day.
What's the best way to honor Lamar Hunt's legacy? Nick?
Well, I mean, obviously we're talking
lead off.
The topic of, the legacy that Lamar Hunt has from, bringing the team from Dallas to Kansas City, ultimately, bringing the franchise to Municipal Stadium, working on building Arrowhead Stadium. I mean, listen, his legacy is he's the founder of the AFL. He's one of the greatest human beings in sports history. He embraced Kansas City as much as Kansas City embraced him. He invested a lot of businesses in Kansas City. And for the purists, I think the best way to, continue that legacy is to, find a way to make it work at Arrowhead or the land next to Arrowhead and keep that vibe going. As we'll get into here in a little bit, it all boils down to money and everything else. But if you're looking strictly from a legacy perspective, for the purists who believe that Arrowhead is the be all, and Lamar Hunt always said it was his favorite place on earth. So there's a huge emotional tug by not only the Hunt family but a lot of Chiefs fans, to keep that legacy going. Now, obviously, if they have that statue, if they go to the other side of the state, they'll probably take the statue with them. But I get the tug and the pull, and I think if you're looking from a purist, emotional, non-business entity perspective, you stay.
That's why we love Nick, right? but look, and keeping his legacy, man. You just gotta like I always say with the classic cars, man. You just you don't change it. You just keep it the way it is, and you ain't gonna get no other build like that. Because that was straight. Modern day build, the way they built the stadium, the way they had, way it is now, the loudness, the fans are up on top of the players, the one of the loudest stadiums in this is the loudest stadium in the NFL. And Seahawks, they want to be the 12th man, they want to be the second one, the best to the Kansas City Chiefs. But to honor his legacy, man, if they move, I would say, you got to stay with that design. If you move, stay with the design, or find a way to honor that and put that design. They kind of they got these machines out there that can go 3D design this thing, and if you're gonna move it, place it somewhere else. But hey, keep it designed. Keep design to the loudness of the fans.
They could.
Yeah, you
Go ahead,
just lift it up, throw it in the back of a truck, and take it to Kansas.
Nick got me with the statue, man. With the statue, man. He said they're gonna put it right behind. They're gonna take the statue with them. They're gonna drag the statue with them. Shit. Nah, honestly, to be honest, right? Honestly, for real, to honor his legacy, what Hunt did for Kansas City, You keep the stadium there. If we're talking about honoring him, keep the stadium there because who want to move this? Who's going to move the statue, right? They're going to get all Nixon, the head probably fall off the damn statue, moving it. You don't need all that, man. Keep the stadium here in honor of him because he did so much for the city. Just keep the stadium here. Yeah. That's the best way to do it, man.
Well, to me, the best way to honor his legacy is just keep winning Super Bowls.
I was about to say that.
Get to a point where they change the name of the trophy to the Lamar. Take the AFC Championship trophy and just take that and put that name on the Lombardi and just say the Lamar Hunt trophy. That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. But I think the bottom line is they just keep winning. Now again, there is. I guess, if you want to call it progress, you want to call it just maybe Clark putting his imprint on things and him kind of extending his dad's legacy and creating his own by putting up a new stadium, whether it's in Kansas or Missouri. I have no idea how that's all going to shake out, but I think that's the best way to do it is just keep winning, keep stacking trophies, and wherever that statue stands, everybody's going to just remember Lamar regardless of whether it's you're sitting there at One Arrowhead Drive or some other location.
All right, so with that said, go ahead, Luke.
Next. How much did Lamar Hunt's vision shape the modern NFL?
Yeah, he is the, in my opinion, and I'm very biased here, he is the sole reason the NFL has the success it has today. Right. He took a bunch of wild owners in the AFL and formed the American Football League when he was denied an opportunity to bring a franchise to the NFL. He said, "Screw it, I'll build my own league." And the AFL was very successful. They competed against the NFL for players. In a lot of cases, they got it. They were very wise to go to small colleges, a lot of African-American schools that were ignored by the NFL in the draft process. And, he had this vision of the way things needed to be done. And I think if you look at how, there's so many great books and there's great videos on the merger itself. But the fact that he met with Pete Rozelle and convinced Pete and said, listen, because the AFL got their own TV deal, which was surprising. Wow. The fact that the level of play was different style than the NFL, he convinced Pete Rozelle to convince the other NFL owners who did not want this to happen. Let's create massive opportunity here. Let's merge the leagues. Let's form the Super Bowl, which Lamar Hunt named. Let's do the AFC versus the NFC. We'll play this way for 4 years, but in 1971 or 1970, they became one entity, and the rest is history. So without that, would the NFL still been successful? It might have been, but it may have not have been the NFL. It may have been the AFL. I think Hunt could have convinced a lot of owners to come over to the AFL, and maybe it was different. But at the end of the day, his vision was second to none, and without him, I don't think the game is as good as it is today, and I don't think the way franchises viewed, expansion later down the road and all the things that Hunt kind of shaped into prowess there and brought into reality had a lot to do with it. But he is, Crystal, you're right. He's a Hall of Fame, obviously, first Chief to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, and highly, highly deserved it. But we owe him more than just Kansas City. Anybody who's a fan of any AFL team or AFC team in particular, you owe a lot to this man.
Yeah, I think how the way he shaped the NFL is the first time I met him in the tailgate in the parking lot. That's the only time you've seen an owner out there tailgating with the fans, walking around the stadium, talking to all the fans, tasting the food, talking to everybody in it, in the crowds and everything else. Hey, only thing he shaped like that is keeping the kingdom rise, keeping the team ready to go in for a big game. First time I met the guy, walking around the stadium.
Little known fact, Hense, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think that's the only time he ever did that. and of course, our own Hense Todd was there.
Yeah,
and somehow bumped
exclusive.
into him, and they exchanged like barbecue. So that was cool.
He said the only time he came outside, man.
Cool. Go ahead, Drake. What you had?
Nah, man. I want to piggyback on what Nick just stated, man. For him, to the founder of the AFL, man, one of the co-founders to put everything together was amazing. You know what I'm saying? Because he's one of the anchors behind the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did so much for Kansas City, man. It's like you can't help but recognize and give love and salute Lamar Hunt. But yeah, I feel like from him doing that and creating that situation for the Super Bowl is amazing. You know what I'm saying? To take the AFL from what he did to get a broadcasting deal, right? To convince these guys to merge with the NFL, it was dope. It was dope. I'm not gonna lie, it was dope, man. So you gotta give him love. You gotta give him love, man. Yeah. So
yeah, certainly some big stones there to take on the establishment, because you had guys, like Wellington Mara, these owners that are like legendary guys and so forth, and they kind of looked down on anything that was challenge them. But the thing is, the style of play in the AFL is a hell of a lot closer to what you see now than what the NFL was playing at the time, where it was just a run heavy league and it was just beating each other up and so forth, which again has a place. But once you started seeing the ball just flying down the field, and NFL films, or at the time, they didn't have NFL films at the time, but at that point, you see some of the AFL films, and it was just different. It was just beautiful, and a lot more athleticism, if you would, a lot more speed, and just looking at it, it just seems so improbable to just take right now. Could you imagine somebody, now again, the USFL tried it and obviously didn't work. They tried to get NFL players. They had a bunch of guys that they drafted, some guys that came over and played, but it's just too big, too massive. But for them to do what they did and get on an equal footing, and I think, the big thing was, the two biggest games were when the Jets beat the Colts and then the Chiefs beat the Vikings the next year. I think at that point it was already going to happen, but it was like, okay, these guys can play with us. But just real quick, I want to shout out, because it was the Foolish Club. Nick had mentioned it.
Right.
So Lamar and Bud Adams were both shut out. Bud Adams ended up as the Houston Oilers owner, but they got shut out of the NFL. So they're like, okay, let's do this. Harry Wismer in New York, Bob Housen in Denver, Baron Hilton, obviously of the hotel chains in LA, Ralph Wilson, the great Ralph Wilson, Buffalo, Billy Sullivan in Boston. And then originally there was a Max Winter that they originally had intended on having Minneapolis be their 8th city. And I think as they got closer to playing, I think they actually even participated in the initial draft, but as they got closer to playing, Minneapolis was awarded an NFL franchise that obviously became the Vikings. So they expanded, and then they got another group led by a guy by the name of F. Wayne Valley to the Raiders. They went to Oakland and put in that market. So if you look at the AFC as it stands right now, Baltimore, I think it was Baltimore and Cleveland, I guess, decided that it was okay, the Colts and the Browns, to play with the AFL teams and be in that conference. Eventually they expanded into Miami and Cincinnati. But if you look at those divisions, the AFL basically is the AFC with those other teams. And then there's been some movement and some other expansion. But yeah, these guys, you just have to say thank you, because it just really turned this league, this sport that we all love, really took it to another level, and then it just, never turned back from there. But I just wanted to shout out each of those guys, because Lamar gets the credit kind of being the head man, but there were some other guys involved, and obviously they took a big shot too.
Yep.
So with that said, let's get into the question of today.
Should the Chiefs stay in Missouri or move to Kansas? Wow.
Wow, big question of the day. All right, so I'm going to put together what I have learned in the last 24 hours, and you guys can comment on it. And wherever it goes, it goes. So the big hubbub happened yesterday. I've got cheat notes here because my memory's not as great as it needs to be. Anyway, but basically what happened yesterday was that Mark Donovan, the president of the Chiefs, and I've known Mark since he got to Kansas City. He's a good dude. He's a good person. He's a great spokesman for the franchise.
Deal maker.
Sent a letter.
Deal maker.
He sent a letter to Ty Masterton, who is the Senate president in Kansas, and indicated through some very choice words that they want to continue the negotiations in regards to the possibility that the Chiefs move to Kansas. And part of what he said is, together, we have the opportunity to bring the National Football League to Kansas, anchored by a world-class dome stadium, new team headquarters, a state-of-the-art practice facility, and a vibrant mixed-use and entertainment district. That was a surprise to me. It was a real big surprise to me, to be honest with you. I didn't think that the Chiefs were going to go public with their demands of the Dome Stadium. Now, for the purists in Missouri who don't want the Dome Stadium, including a couple people probably on our show, it's my understanding that a Dome Stadium is going to go to Kansas or Missouri. I think it's something the Chiefs want. So what's going to happen is the Star Bonds were set to expire, which is the formula in which the money was going to be distributed to the team to pay for the construction of a new stadium. As things stand today, the state of Kansas has committed about 70% of the total costs. Missouri has committed, with the tax incentives, 60% of the total cost. What does that mean? It means, well, if they go to Kansas, they're going to have a better opportunity for all the infrastructure of all the things that Mark Donovan laid out in the letter. Now, the Star Bonds are set to expire. So on July 7th, which is a week from Monday, they will extend those Star Bonds through the end of the calendar year. So what does this mean for Missouri? So Missouri has approved, like I said, 60% of the cost for whatever the Chiefs want to do with it in their stadium stuff. Now, I'm going to exclude the Royals here for a minute. So this is what has to happen if Missouri is going to pull this off. It is still going to require a stadium tax to get done in Missouri. If it gets done in Missouri and it somehow gets put on the November ballot, which is the reason that the Chiefs want to extend the Star Bond option until the end of the year, is to give Missouri one more chance to prove that it can actually do something. Now, here's the kicker. Mayor Quentin Lucas, who has to convince Frank White and his committee to get it on the ballot. Frank White was a big thorn in the side of getting this thing done. The bill failed a year ago, April. Would have put the Chiefs at Arrowhead with a renovation project, and the Royals in the perfect spot downtown, the Hense Star site next to the T-Mobile Center in the Power and Light District. That didn't happen. So what has to happen is this. If they can get it on the November ballot and the Chiefs commit to staying in Missouri, if it passes, they will cover 90% of the total costs for whatever the Chiefs want to build. If it fails, they're going to Kansas. That's it. If it doesn't go to a vote and they can't get it on the ballot in November, they're going to Kansas. This is the first time the Chiefs have been extremely public and very detailed about what they're looking for. So as far as the state of Missouri goes, they've come a long way since Mike Keogh came in and became the governor. They've done a lot of really great things. In order for them to make this happen, they have to rely on Jackson County to pull off a vote. So if it happens, then I think the Chiefs stay in Missouri. If it doesn't, they're gone. Then the Royals are kind of part of this as well. They're leaning toward going to 119th and null. They're also talking to the state of Kansas about using some of those Star Bonds. So the question is, are both teams going to have enough to pay for what they need to pay for? The caveat is the Royals and John Sherman, the owner, they're paying for the majority of their construction. So in other words, they're paying about 70%, but they still want some sort of stadium help in regards to tax incentives, maybe some funds from the coffers in Johnson County, and also some sort of a stadium tax. So the bottom line is this. For the purists, the Chiefs have given Missouri a window to say, okay, let's stay in Missouri. I don't think it's going to be Arrowhead. I don't think they're going to renovate Arrowhead. I think they're going to build a dome stadium either on the ground somewhere because I don't think they want to wait until Patrick Mahomes is 35 years old or 38 years old to have a new stadium. It just doesn't – it's not good business, in my opinion. The other issue is if you try to retrofit Arrowhead, that means that Clark Hunt's heirs, his children, who are going to run the franchise at some point, are going to be straddled with a building that's falling apart. It's inevitable. So either build a new for the next 50 years, make sure that your children don't have to go through this again. But I think it's very possible that the way in which the negotiations have gone in Kansas, that I think they have a pretty good understanding exactly what needs to be done. The last caveat I'm going to say is this. Missouri able to get this vote on the November ballot and it passes, there's nothing to prevent the state of Kansas from doing a very similar thing, which would put them at a threshold nearly 100% of the costs. So this is a true, border war battle. I get the purists, as I said earlier, and I know Hense is one of them, that leave Arrowhead alone. You can never duplicate the sight lines at Arrowhead. It's impossible. There's absolutely no way you can build a new Arrowhead and have the same sight line structure that it's impossible. So for the purists, I don't think renovating Arrowhead is the right way to go because it's going to be a problem in 15 to 20 years. I think if they stay there and they stay in Missouri, I think, North Kansas City is an option. The World's a Fun area is an option, or they could just pick an area. My opinion would be, if I was going to build a new stadium in Missouri, I would demolish the Independence Center and I would put my stadium right there. I would say, okay, and then you build the infrastructure around a new stadium. There's plenty of land. It would satisfy Jackson County. It would satisfy the state. That's what I would do if I was them. If I had an option, it's either Independence or Kansas City, Kansas. And regardless of what the Royals do, and again, they're going to have to battle it out and who wants what first. But the Chiefs have a clear vision of what they want, what they desire, and Mark Donovan explained that. So at the end of the day, that is everything that I know. I think it's an evolving situation. If Clark Hunt was not okay with this letter going out and the verbiage and the wording very specifically stating what they want and what they expect and what they're negotiating, that tells Missouri what they're going to have to do. So Missouri has a chance, and I'd say it's a good chance, but I don't think it's going to be at Arrowhead. Again, I think it's either going to be next to Arrowhead or they're going to look at another location. And my vote would be the Independence Center. Now, I was the first to say that I thought the Royals should go to 119th and Null about a year and a half ago, and everybody thought I was full of crap. And I think ultimately that's where they're going to end up. So that's all I got.
So you think so the question is, should they stay in Kansas or Missouri?
I personally believe if Independence Center area doesn't work out, I think you go to Kansas. With Kansas, you've got the
because it sounds like Donovan et al., Clark Hunt, their whole group is kind of obviously you're pitting the states against one another to get the best deal. I mean, it's just simple business, right? I mean, they have something that both sides want, and they're going to have to, whoever comes up with the best deal is going to get that asset. I guess the question would be in terms of Missouri, when you talk about stadium tax, like who's bearing the brunt of that? Is it like everybody gets taxed or whoever?
No,
it's just like a tax on tickets to games.
Yeah, it's a tax in Jackson County It'll be broken down as a 1/3 cent sales tax for both teams. And if it's only for one team, it's probably going to be more like a 1/4 cent tax. So what's going to happen is on all goods and services in the area, in Jackson County, top to bottom, east, west, north, south, there's going to be a stadium tax that's applied to all the purchases that you do, and that money is funneled in.
So it's everybody.
It's taxpayers only.
Every citizen would be impacted. That's where I think they're going to run into an issue. Is that
it's about $7 a month? What
you'd have to believe that a majority of people that live in the area that pay taxes probably don't go to games. So it doesn't mean a damn thing to them.
Yeah, you're right, because 60% of season ticket holders are from Johnson County for the Chiefs. So that leaves 40% spread out between Jackson County, Blue Springs, Independence, Lee Summit, North Kansas City.
There you have it. You just answered it.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. So I think for the Chiefs, they want to build a massive complex. They want a massive complex. For the Royals, they go to 119th and all for you, Lou. It's out in the suburbs. It's Johnson County's the second wealthiest. Well, probably it's the second wealthiest county in the country next to Beverly Hills. So it's got a lot of money. They bought the land. They became the landlord for the Sprint campus, the T-Mobile campus. So they have the land basically, because they own all the buildings now. They have everything in place, meaning they control at least the money.
You're talking about Kansas, right, Nick?
In Kansas for the Royals.
There you go.
Okay, make it clear. So the issue is Kansas has a lot more opportunities to the use of the star bonds. And so what's really great about the star bonds is that basically it's free money. Now, something that most people don't know, for the Chiefs, the governor in Kansas, she has the ability to use any excess state funds at her discretion to be used for anything. And I think they've got a war chest up to $1 billion. So if they're short financially for the Chiefs, and I believe they want the Chiefs more than they want the Royals, at least in Kansas City, Kansas area, in the Legends area. So there's going to be money there that's going to come out of nowhere, where the state of Missouri doesn't have that discretionary fund because there's too much competition. You got the St. Louis Cardinals. You got the St. Louis Blues of the NHL. University of Missouri has been getting money for their new stadium project. Again, they're building a massive, upgrade to was it Farote Field? I'm sorry, I'm not 100% familiar with it. To their stadium. So there's a lot of coffers that have a lot of money that has to be spread out. Whereas in Kansas, there's no other sports entity or sports franchise that they're in competition with. I mean, Sporting KC is kind of its own thing, owned by local owners. So, this is very emotional, but it's a business. And at the end of the day, if they can solve the dome problem and find the location, the Chiefs will get three things. One, they're guaranteed a Super Bowl. That's number one. Number two, they are guaranteed a Final Four, because the history of the Final Four and the way the Big 12 championships are run in Kansas City, it's a gold mine for the city.
Hello.
And number three is they will be in the rotation for the NFL Combine, which is going to start shifting beginning next year. I think the next 2 years are in Los Angeles. So this is as much of a business decision. And I think Donovan is more looking toward, let's build new, let's start from scratch, let's ensure that we have a home like we had with Arrowhead for the next 50 to 60 years. And let's make sure that our heirs, our children, and the legacy is we're still honoring, the Hunt family, but Clark may want to go his own direction. Again, I don't think burdening the future owners of the Chiefs is a good thing. And with all these NFL stadiums being kicked off, if anybody hasn't seen the drawings for the new Nashville team, if you haven't seen the new Titan Stadium, it's the coolest piece of architecture for a stadium I've ever seen in my entire life. The Chiefs, when they played in Super Bowl 57, is that right, in Las Vegas, or was that 58? They were shocked at the amenities of the training facility that the Raiders had. And, it was like the Taj Mahal. And the stadium amenities were incredible.
Well, they went on a rent page there. But again,
I'm just trying to lay the facts out.
If you look at if I'm Mark Donovan, I'm working, as a been a guy that worked in management and stuff like that. If I'm not doing my job, I got to show the Chiefs that I'm doing my job, right? If the July 7th was the 30th was the dead date, and I just sat back and did nothing, and I had to say, hey, you gonna let us miss out on this deal and be stuck with Missouri? We got to still show we entered in Missouri, and we still got to show that we entered as in Kansas. So Mark Donovan, as a vice president of the Chiefs, got to show that, hey, I can go out here and still do my job, and this is my part of my thing to do. So I'm gonna send a letter over to Kansas and say that, hey, we still in the fight. We still this is what we want to do. It's a part of doing business, like Lou said. But the thing is, hey, when I was told this morning, it ain't what I was told when I met the person on the elevator, and when I told last week at the Royals game, hey, the team want to actually stay where they at, and the Royals will move downtown, went to Crown Center, Crown Center area next to Union Station,
the Washington Park,
the Washington Park, they built it, and then the Chiefs will build a Jerry Jones world over there. And I also was told the historic moment was, okay, yes, this is that. They will build a training camp facility in Kansas. Now, you first heard it here from me, and I was told to hear first to this border. If that's the thing they want to bring, instead of going this all the way to St. Joe, it'll be going to Kansas City, Kansas. So Kansas would be getting something out of it, out of the deal as well. So, hey, should they stay in Missouri or should they stay in Kansas? It's up to me. It's my walking ground where I go ride my bikes and where I go run and walk with my wife every day in my peace zone. So I would have to say they stay in Missouri. But again, from what I was told when I was said this morning, Kansas will be a training camp facility for the Chiefs that are going all the way to St. Joe, where there's not a lot of shopping areas that the fans can get into. They have all the legends, they have the speedway, they have all that other stuff is out there as well. What the fans can camp out or stay at the Great Wolf Lodge, and
the Margaritaville facility is they're breaking ground, so that's going to be up too. And that's so they can
go from there straight to training camp to the Chiefs, and so it basically so that could be the historic deal that they talking about.
We'll see.
But again, so I was told this morning. What you had to say, Dre? I know you're gonna say Kansas, but it's Missouri is all the way.
Man, y'all didn't took damn near an hour. No, listen, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna answer a straight, clean cut. Go to Kansas because it's more money over there, and people would love it. Bigger population, more money, more attractions. Super Bowl. You got Final Four. You got WrestleMania coming to Arrowhead when you go to Kansas. We talking about money. The Mahomes era is almost done. You go over there, we start fresh. I'm with it. I'm with the attraction. So I'm gonna say, go to Kansas. See that? 5 minutes, 5 strong. Baby.
Yeah, I still say, for all those other things, you're still gonna want like a destination. Now the Final Four I can see because typically, in March, it's a shorter time frame, right? In terms of
it's a weekend.
It's a weekend. It's not that. So I could see that. Super Bowl,
training.
Maybe they do get that.
I know for a fact, 100%, that Roger Goodell has promised Kansas City.
If that's part of the deal, I guess the other part is, so if you think they stay in Missouri, they're definitely building a new stadium.
I think they have no choice. Here's why. I mean, I'm not a contractor, and maybe
I'm just curious if I'm sure they have like feasibility studies and everything else that says, okay, if we do this, the current structure can last this much longer.
Yeah,
right?
I think you're looking at maybe
they have to figure that into the equation. It's interesting to see because it looks like, again, Donovan isn't, he's not going to be the ultimate decision maker, but I think he's just laying the groundwork to get the best possible deal from either state. And then at the end of the day, Clark's going to have to either say, Mark, you make the decision, or more than likely he makes the decision because, again, it's his team. So should they? Again, I don't live in the area, so I would say
Pennsylvania.
I would say stay where you're at. I love everything about Arrowhead, everything that you see, the sight lines, everything else on TV. It's just, there's nothing like it.
Right.
But hey, money talks. They're going to want, a facility that they can use more than just for the football season. Anything that they can do during the winter months, during the summer, whatever, get as many dates as possible to make as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Taylor Swift will be the first act in the new Dome Stadium. I will bet you $1,000 right now.
Man,
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I'm with that
I
one.
don't know.
I'm with that one.
Next
All
question.
right, let's hit to the last question. Go, Lou.
So how much should taxpayers? We got to get an
Take over,
accountant here
Nick.
for this one.
Hey,
Hensley.
take over, Nick. Take over, Nick.
How
Go
much
ahead.
should
Take that one,
taxpayers
Nick.
contribute to stadium costs? I mean, this is the greatness of the NFL, that you get public funding to build these monsters, and the profits are private. So they're the best. They can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
The stadium tax, the stadium costs for the taxpayers is basically going to be the upkeep. That's what that money is being used for. That's significant. The Chiefs, I believe last year, put in $21 million of their own money, as they should, to work on improvements. They keep having, when they did the renovation, 11, 12, 13 years ago, whatever it was, they spent a significant time fixing the concrete. And there's a lot. Anybody who was in the bowels of Arrowhead, you could stick your finger in the ceiling and stuff would fall down on top of you.
Damn.
So it was like, it needed a lot of work. And over time, they've had to do, the same thing. For the people that have seats in the east end zone, before the renovation, the sewage backed up in that corner, and it stunk to all hell mighty. It was awful. So there were a lot of things they had to do. The problem that they have now with Arrowhead is, fortunately, their concrete is good, where the Royals is bad, and that's another conversation for another day. It just wasn't the same. You can only stick so much on top of it, and not to try to get more life out of it. I think if they do what you suggest, Lou, I think maybe they can get 20 years out of that stadium. But Missouri wants a 30-year lease, and they're threatening in that 30-year lease that if the Chiefs break that lease, that they go on all their money back. Well, obviously that's not going to happen. But again, my only issue is this. The Chiefs are going to be in the area forever. No question about it. But at some point, they're going to have to address a new stadium. So with Patrick Mahomes turning 30 this
How
season,
much do taxpayers use
but the taxpayers contribute. Are they going to agree to a 3-cent sales tax? Are they going to agree to a 1/4-cent sales tax? It just depends. But that's all they're paying for, is the upkeep and the maintenance for one or both stadiums. That's it.
I go out there with my riding lawnmower and keep up the maintain of the stadium myself.
There you go.
For free.
You got that taken care of.
I think that I think the taxpayers, if we want something, you gotta own it, you own up to it, or you want to keep something, you got to tribute to something. What you guys got before we close on that?
I think short of a new stadium being built, Nick, I don't think they have to. I mean, the Bengals just upped for 10 years.
Right.
On the current
but they're getting stadium upgrades too. Yeah.
Right. But I guess the point is, if they decide to go that route, but again, now you're just kind of patchworking things along. So at a certain point, maybe now's the time, with Clark he's got to be late 50s, early 60s.
Yep.
Decision's going to be made. He wants to make it, like you said, for his own legacy, for his own family moving forward. Now's the time. I guess the other question I have is, if it is Missouri, and the idea is to build a new stadium, do they have to wait?
No, they don't have to.
They could break ground like next year if they want, if they could.
Here's the main issue. Initially, the thought was, well, we'll just wait till the Royals move. And, if you do that, you're looking at 4 years on top of 2029. So you're looking at 2033. The Mahomes era is over. It's just done. He'll be at the end of his twilight of his career. If they can basically take a section of one of the parking lots, and they can start construction where parking would be less. They'd have to create some alternative way to get into Arrowhead. It would be messy, but it could be done. Or, as I suggested, go to Independence Center and you can start construction next year. So it's possible. I don't get the impression that the Chiefs are willing to wait for the Royals to leave if they somehow build a facility at the Truman Sports Complex.
Yeah, well,
I don't think that's a good bit because the costs are going to be $500 million.
Their lease right now runs to 31. Is it
30? I think
30 or 31. So, but I'm saying if they could get something up and going before that, I mean, is it just a wash? And they say, okay,
well, they can get at this point. Both
just
teams
move,
can get out
just
of their
move
lease.
to the new stadium and not wait around. And then
there's no penalty at this.
You get a little bit more of Patrick in his prime at the new place.
That's it. That's the money driven part of it that they have to look at.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you all were in the SAVE Arrowhead, put the SAVE Arrowhead in the chat if you with me. Now, if you want to move to Kansas, I understand, but from what I heard, it will be a training facility.
I'm giving you compromise. Go to Independence Center.
If it does happen, it will be a training camp.
Let's go dome. Let's go dome. Keep your children. Everybody want to be healthy. Keep your limbs. Let's go to the dome. I'm rooting for Kansas. Let's go. Let's go, man.
The kingdom is willing to give up body parts for their team,
right.
man.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
So with that said, guys, I hope you guys enjoy. You got he said what Kareem said, SAVE Arrowhead.
Oh, whatever, Kareem. Whatever.
So with that said, guys, we'll see you guys with Saturday, man, Coach Dre. And we'll see the rest of you guys on Monday on 4 Guys in the Bar. And hope you guys have a great weekend.
Peace.
SAVE Arrowhead.